another episode of The Platform. I'm Togsy, no Warwick with me tonight, something different, out of the studio and actually back home on the Gold Coast, where I grew up and worked in radio and then started making a web show, travelling around the world doing all kinds of interviews, and I just love stories and some great stories tonight on the show, and we begin with Noodle Simone Green. Here she is. Noodle, thank you so much for being on the show. It's fun to have you on.
Thank you.
I love doing a show about stories, and we've been Facebook friends for a while, and when we first became friends, it wasn't me just going, oh, she's a gorgeous girl. It was like there was this little story on there, and I was like, is that you? And you said, yes, it is. It was all in Thai, so I couldn't work out what was going on, but can you tell our audience what I found that day?
Alrighty, so I went to see Lion, the movie, in 2016, was it?
Yeah.
And it was a story about Saru. And I just remember feeling exactly the same thing about the whole adoption process and what he was going through. And I slightly envied that he had gone through the process, and I kind of wanted to have that same feeling, empathise. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. So it was him. He made me find the drive, and I became hungry for what he had experienced. So
your backstory before you saw that movie is pretty full on, isn't it? And what was written in that Thai and that post was like almost made me cry when you told me about it. Like, what was written on that post about your story?
So it said something about, I'm trying to remember what, said something, hi, my name's Noodle. I'm originally from Thailand. I was abandoned on the streets of Bangkok, and I've been given a bit of information that I've had translated. So this is the information. My mum's name, which was in Thai, where she lived, which was also in Thai, and the hospital that I may have been abandoned at. So with that very little information, I had translated it, put it into English, posted it on Facebook, and let the whole world help me try and find these fine details that I had.
So you were, at what age did you realise that you were abandoned as a baby at a hospital?
Straight away. As soon as I understood English, my parents told me that I was abandoned, that I was in an orphanage, and that I had been adopted. So as soon as they adopted me, they told me the story. So
how long were you in the orphanage for?
About 4.5 years.
So you're a little baby growing up
I was
there.
5. I just turned 5 when I was adopted.
Wow. So how did your Australian parents find you? Like, that's probably a crazy story.
So my mum actually worked for an adoption agency at the time, and she did a lot of the Southeast Asian areas, and I think she just happened to come across me and fell in love with me straight away. And I was quite old in the orphanage. I was one of the oldest there. And I think that may have been because I'm a mixed race. So it's one of those things where they really push the Thai children out there. And I've been told that, especially back in the 80s, that if you had mixed race, they didn't want to send evil into the family. So that's what I was told. Whether it's true or not is another story. That's why I was like one of the oldest there. So I was about 2.5 when my mum found me, and she was going through all the papers, and she's like, you know what, I'm ready to adopt. She had previously lost her own child when he was 18, so it took time for her to, get through all that. But when she found me, she knew she was ready. So she's like, that's it. I'm going to adopt this child and bring her back to Adelaide, and she's going to be my daughter.
Wow. So what was life like in Adelaide growing up then, with a backstory like that?
Initially it was hard to adjust. I had to learn to adapt to Western culture. I didn't speak a word of English, and I was put straight into school, so that was really tough for me. I did get bullied first couple of years, so that was really tough for me. So I learnt about racism very quickly. I also learnt to gain trust, and also learnt how to adapt quickly to different situations. But I think my parents helped me by including me into extracurricular, like dancing, to try and strengthen my social skills. And there I learned to develop, to progress, and to excel in something that I am now really good at and make a living out of. So I found my confidence within me, and I think that really helped to get into the swing of things in Australia.
So there's a bit of your backstory, and then we get to this point where you hear about the movie Lion, which is an
Yeah.
incredible film, and you go and see it with your backstory, and then what happens at that point?
Well, as I've told other people, it was a very cathartic experience. I left the cinemas thinking, wow, that made me feel so inspired, and I was ready. Before that, I was really disconcerted about the whole idea of trying to figure myself out, trying to find my identity, and knowing the unknown. And I was worried about my parents as well, what they would think, because it's quite close to the bone for them. So I didn't want to upset them in any way. But I knew I had to do it at some point because there was almost like a hole in my mind, in my heart. So when out of the movies, I was like, the time is right. Just got to do it and go for it.
Such an inspiring story, and you will not believe how it all ends up. And we'll find out when we come back from the break.